Coach Jefferson Mason here with Dr. Dish Basketball. I am joined by one of the best in the business out there, Peter Kaffey, a good longtime friend of mine, player developmental coach, high school prep coach, has worked with some of the best players in the world, to be honest with you. I'm very, very happy to have him on here with me today. Coach P, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks, Jefferson, for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I'm doing well, just out here in Arizona, man. It's trying to stay safe and with the family, and practicing social distancing, and yeah.
Right. Well, to give a little bit of background on Pete and I's relationship, me and him, we've been good friends for a very, very, very long time. We actually played high school basketball together, and then he actually coached me for a year or two after that as well. We've known each other for such a long time. It's incredible to see the growth that you've had. Not only as a coach, but just in the basketball industry with being respected not only over there in Arizona and on the West Coast, but just on a national scale. For those that don't know, Dr. Dish Basketball is located in Bloomington, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis. And so that's kind of where Coach P and I grew up. Again, we played high school basketball together. I can recall times where we were in the YMCA for hours playing one-on-one to try to see who's better. But Coach and I have had a lot of battles, and we've talked about basketball for hours and hours on end, over the course of the last few years. So with that being said, Coach P, give our listeners a little bit of background information on kind of what you do over at AZ Compass Prep, your affiliations with AAU basketball and training, and just get people up to speed a little bit more on what you do in depth.
Well, before I start, talking about what I do over here in Arizona, that's you just brought back some memories, Jefferson. I remember my basketball journey started with pretty much you. I remember after your freshman year at Robbinsdale Armstrong, I thought you was the best freshman on the team, but wasn't given an opportunity to do so, and we made that decision to transfer to Cooper High School together. So that's kind of funny that you brought that up. You and I have been doing this for a very, very long time. That kind of helped spark my basketball journey. And, fast forward probably 15 to 16 years later, we're both, have a career in basketball. But what I do now currently, I am the athletic director here at AZ Compass Prep, which is located in Chandler, Arizona. This is my 4th year going on. Started off as, an assistant coach to the national team, also was a head varsity coach. But the ownership made some changes and hired one of my good friends, Ed Gibson, as a head coach. I'm his assistant and also, like I said, the program director and athletic director. But my journey started back in Minnesota, obviously where I'm from. Went to Cooper High School, played at Cooper High School, graduated from Cooper High School, went back there as a coach, where I started my coaching career. Had a lot of success coaching great players like yourself, Jefferson, guys like Rodney Williams, Jr., Rashad Vaughn, the list goes on. After 6 or 7 years of that, came to the West Coast, got introduced to the prep world. My first prep job was at Finley Prep, where we had players like Kelly Oubre, Rashad Vaughn, Dylan Brooks, list goes on, PJ Washington, Alonzo Trier. Did that for a few years, had an opportunity to, Rashad Vaughn made it to the NBA, had an opportunity to help them out, so I did that. Wasn't really feeling the NBA style, wanted to come back to my roots, which was high school. Came to Arizona, and that's where I found Compass Prep. And we've been doing this for, like I said, going on to my 4th year now. The first couple of years was a struggle, just trying to get people to know that we're a real school that got, high school players that are trying to pursue a career in basketball. This year we had a lot of success. We had, I'd say probably 9 Division I players. We just recently had 3 of our players, seniors, committed to Division I schools. We have Siri Lewis that was going to Kansas State. Jabari Walker, who just committed yesterday to Colorado. And then we have Xavier Dussel, who's going to Wyoming. So the program is doing really well. Our mission here is to, first to educate kids, teach them the value of life, and then just, try to enhance their basketball skills. We have a great coaching staff. We do a really, really good job developing these kids. Uh, but yeah, man, just out here in Arizona, man, just, trying to, take this prep school thing to a different level. And I feel like this year was a huge success. We finished out the season 33-7, made it all the way to the Final Four for the for Nationals. Man, just looking forward to the future, man.
Right, definitely. Well, it's funny you say, or actually pretty cool, I should say, that you said Jabari's committed to CU. I don't know, Pete, if you remember, but my old college coach, my first college I went to, Tad Boyle, he's over at Colorado now. So, Coach Boyle, if you're listening to this, just know that you got a really good get in Jabari coming over that way. Looking forward to kind of watching him play for Coach Boyle. He does a fantastic job over there. Now,
Yes.
you mentioned, transitioning, back and forth from the NBA, world. I know that you've worked with obviously a lot of players that have went on to the college level and at the college level currently right now. Um, Quick question for you. I know you talked a little bit about it already, but what are some of the differences that people may not know between a prep school and a regular high school?
Well, prep school, I feel like they have their own rules, where there's high school is governed by the state. And there's a lot of things. I remember when I was coaching high school in Minnesota, I couldn't really train players at a certain time of the year. I think that was deemed as a violation, and we got in trouble for that. Whereas prep school is 24-hour access. One thing about our school, each and every one of our players have access to our facilities. We have 3 facilities here, and we hand out keys to, family members or even the players to go out, and whenever they want to get in the gym, they can get in the gym. Another difference, I feel like high school, prep school, high school, you're only given certain amount of games where you can travel and go to different states and play different opponents. Whereas prep school, you can travel as many times as you want. This year we in the month of December, January, we were literally on the road every other week. And high school is more like your community, whereas prep school, these kids are coming from different parts of the world. You got guys from Africa, Europe, everywhere, and they come together, and we put them together, and we kind of, in the first couple months, it's just strictly training. Whereas high school, like I said, in October, you really can't get into the gym until November, with your players, where
Right.
we're training with our players from August all the way on. So that's the beauty, especially with this, pandemic that's going on right now. A lot of kids are not really in the gym, where for us, when this thing is over by the grace of God, our guys, they're going to be in the gym 24/7, and we can be in the gym with them 24/7 to get caught up back. So, I love high school. High school was that where I started at. I just think prep is more like you're trying to get ready for college right away, and you're trying to get ready for league. High school, you're not going to see a lot of top All-Americans. When I was, in Minnesota, you was one of those guys where we're like, wow, it's Jefferson Mason. Whereas prep school, there's a whole bunch of Jefferson Mason on every team. You was one of the few that, in your city or in Minnesota that stood out. Whereas prep school, I think there's a lot of great players. There's a lot of opportunity to get better with no limitations. I love both. But prep school is just getting you ready for that next level.
Definitely. I honestly, just even you talking through that right there gave me a lot of information that I did not know about prep schools. I think even myself, I'm learning, the more that we've become affiliated with prep schools, through Dr. Dish and our shooting machines, I'm starting to learn more and more and understand, how important it is to these players, the coaches and the parents as well, for them to go and excel and exceed. And like you said, there's a ton of talented players that are from all over the world, essentially, that come to these prep schools that are preparing, for the next step, which is college basketball, and ultimately, hopefully, becoming a pro. Now, with that being said, You mentioned earlier that you had around 9 players or so, that had some Division One scholarships out there or that have already signed, which is obviously at the regular high school level you would never really see that. That's rare. I think one of the best high schools in Minnesota back in the day, I think maybe they had 3 or 4 Division One players on one team, and that was probably one of the most miraculous things that have ever happened. Typically, there's only maybe one, if you're lucky, Division One player. But out there with you guys and other prep schools, there's a ton of talent on these teams. Now, with that being said, you know, um, how do you manage a group of guys that's so talented? I know that when I played, at Robbinsdale Cooper, I was the best player. I knew that I was going to play essentially the entire game. I knew that I was going to take, all of the shots, or if not majority of the shots. I never really had to worry about, 8 players deep that could do the same thing or even better as me. So, how do you manage, and the coaching staff manage all of these players that are unbelievably talented with, playing time, skill development, so on and so forth?
Well, that's a compliment to our head coach, Ed Gibson. He does a really, really good job, man. It starts in practice with the, just guys competing, for minutes. Our motto is nothing is given, everything is earned. So he does a good job creating that atmosphere where you got to compete, and we're not just going to hand you a playing time because you came in here with some stars behind your name. That doesn't work like that. And I think us having, over 40 games helps too. Whenever you have that many games, kids at first like, well, I'm not playing. Well, I'm not playing. Well, in the course of the season, when you start having these games where there's 20 minutes per half, now, not I don't care how good you are, it's just kind of hard for you to play at this level that many minutes. So this year we did a platoon system, which really worked for us. A platoon system is something that Kentucky did when they had Carl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, and those guys. So we implemented that this year where we went, 5 guys at a time that went hard for 6 or 7 minutes and came in with another 5. And then the last 10 minutes, we kind of went with the guys that we felt like that were really, really engaged in the game. So, there's different things that we did to kind of keep everybody happy. And I thought our head coach did a really good job and our staff did a really good job. But it's kind of hard because it's like, oh, man, you got 9 Division I players. How do you keep everyone happy? You got kids coming from different schools where they average over 20-something points per game, where they were the man. I told one kid this, Jabari Walker, this when I first recruited him. I said, hey, Jabari, if I were to tell you, if you come here, would you be okay, sacrificing your points and some of the minutes for you getting a Division I scholarship? What would you say if I tell you right now that you might have to give up, your 20 points per game, your 30 minutes a game to get a D1 scholarship where you feel comfortable going? What would you do? He said, you know what, coach, I'm going to come out there, I'm going to compete. And he did. At first it wasn't, what it was for Jabari at the end, but he worked his way and he got rewarded, obviously playing for a great coach. But, competing in practice. I think that was what really helped us gauge who can play at what time and whatnot. But our coach do a really good job, and like I said, it's always hard when you have that many talented players on your roster. But we did a really, really good job, just keeping everybody happy. We didn't have one kid that was mad. But this is the funny thing, though. At the end of the year, when we went to nationals, 3 of our best players were hurt. But that was good because, what I'm saying, we had 7 other players that were really good too. So we didn't miss a beat. But that's one of the positive when you over recruit and get good players. So
That's awesome. I mean, I can only imagine, how difficult it can be for a prep school coach to manage all of those talented players. I can just go back to, my high school, and I almost related to college basketball. It's a similar situation where when you get to college, especially Division I basketball, you have all of these talented players from all over the country that come in. And like you said, Pete, all of these guys were the best player on their team. They were looked up to as a superstar. They shot the ball. They scored all the points. They did all these things. And now they're transitioning into college where they're going to play a role. There's going to be guys that are superstars. There's going to be guys that have to earn minutes. And it is a shell shock and it is a change. And that's why, just from hearing what you're saying, prep school is so important because it gives those players an opportunity to be a little bit more self-aware and also understand that, at the next level, they are going to have to sacrifice for the team. But if they learn to do that, ultimately team success leads to individual success. And that's an awesome
100%.
thing for sure. Now,
100%.
now with that being said, we talked a little bit about developing players. Over a year, I want to say a year and a half, you guys got a Dr. Dish shooting machine at the facility, and I know that you were putting up a ton of videos on your own personal profile on IG of the guys getting in there shooting. I know you had your son in there shooting a ton and other players as well. How important is it for players to get a lot of reps up, in particular on the dish?
Well, I'm gonna say this. The dish is responsible for probably me getting 2 or 3 of these Division One players. Because I remember when we first got it, it was like the best toy. I was always on IG, pretty much, not just promoting it, but letting kids know, hey, you don't need a coach or even your dad to be in the gym with you to get a great workout. And I was so amazed by all like 100 something workouts by some of the best trainers in the game. I'm talking about NBA guys, guys that, when I was helping out Rashad that, I used to see here and there training other pros. And then some of the workouts they had implemented in the dish, it was like, wow, you know what I mean? And I kind of use that as a tool to let other, recruits know, like, hey, man, when you come out here, obviously you have access to the gym. But, I can see if you're working because, I could program my phone to this dish and I can tell how many shots you got up, your weaknesses and everything else. And our kids took complete advantage of that. When you looked at, I could see you some of the analytics of our team this year, like a kid named Sincere Parker shot the lights, out, he shot almost over 50-some%. He was one of those gym rats that was always in the gym, always on the dish, Xavier Drusell, Jabari Walker, those guys, Frankie, even Tata Washington, those guys, the dish is like a lifesaver, you know what I mean? Because for me, I got a 10-year-old, Malachi, and I got to make. So it was a good thing having that, where our kids can just go into the gym, get their own workout in, listen to some music, you know what I'm saying? So that kind of helped us a lot, especially myself and coach, because we were able to monitor guys, we give them certain things that they needed to do that was already programmed into the drill, into the dish. So, Dr. Dr. Dish was just like, it was just like a lifesaver for us this year.
That's awesome to hear, man. Again, that's part of what we're trying to do here at Dr. Dish is create excitement. And for a lot of high schools, prep schools, even colleges. We have machines at North Carolina, Duke, Florida. I can go on and on and on of the top programs in the nation that have gotten our machines that describe the similar feeling from their coaches as you do. These guys are able to get in, get a ton of shots up, work with some of the best trainers on the world, and it really doesn't help enhance what the coach believes in and what the coach wants for their players. And on the back end, like you mentioned, the analytics, the numbers never lie. We know that for sure. And that's awesome to hear that you guys have been able to implement that into your system, and it's been of value to you guys as well. Now, with that being said, you've been in this basketball game for a long time. I'm not going to throw your age out there, Coach P.
Please don't do that. Don't do that.
We've known you've been in the game for quite a while now, and you've had the opportunity to watch players develop from early teenage years all the way through high school, all the way through college into the pros. Describe the feeling it is to see a guy go from high school or prep school to college, and then a guy to go from college to the pros. Like, what is that feeling like for you being their coach or being a guy that's worked with them?
Well, it's a feeling that, is undescribable. It's one of those things you're like, man, when it happens. I remember when Vaughn Rashad got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, and the first emotion that I had was, oh, man, are you serious? Like all the late nights, all the early mornings, it's like, wow. And I was part of it. I was like the guy that was driving the vehicle to kind of help this kid get to now he's in the NBA. And for me, like other kids that I watched, that I didn't have the same relationship that I had with Vaughn, but just kind of coach them, it's always rewarding, man, just to see, hey, man, you meet this young man and you talk about basketball, you ask them what they want to do, where they want to be, and you see them come up with a plan, and they're pretty much begging you to be part of this plan because they see that that you see something in them, and whenever these kids forget the NBA, because not everybody get the opportunity to get to the NBA, but just seeing like when Jabari committed to Colorado, that put a smile on my face because here's a kid that came in that didn't have one Division I offer. You know what I'm saying? For him to work his way, now he's at a Pac-12 school and playing for a real good coach. That means a lot. So first you got to have work ethic. For me, I don't know, I just been blessed to be around great players. But if you don't have that work ethic, I really can't not help you. You got to have the work ethic. You know what I mean? Because, like I say, we can only be with you so many for so many hours out of the day. You got to be able to put in that work when we're not with you. You know what I'm saying? Like we talk about having a dish, Dr. Dish. Where guys got to go in there, be self-motivated to turn it on and watch some workouts and be able to do it. Just for me, man, it's just like I just been blessed, been around some good people, great kids. Another kid right now is going through this process. The kid Booth Gosh from Utah that I met. He's originally from Minnesota. That trust and believe in what when I was recruiting him, I told him, I said, hey man, I've been around some great players, kind of like yourself, Jefferson, but the one thing that was consistent with these great players, they all had a crazy work ethic. And when he came over here, the same thing, kind of like Jabari, nobody knew who he was. They had one offer going into the summer of his senior season, worked his way, worked his tail off or whatever. At the end of that summer, he had 30 offers. Long story short, he's at Utah. Now he's testing the waters for the NBA. So it's very rewarding to know that, these kids, when you first met them, it was a goal, and they worked the plan, they stayed the course, and now they're here. So it's always rewarding. It's a rewarding feeling, man. It's undescribable. I can't really tell you how. You know what I mean? It's just like, man, this is why I do it. It's not for the paycheck, because I'm one of those guys that's been in the game for a long time. I can do whatever I really want to do with basketball. But this, stage of my life and just helping young boys transition into young man, that's no money can replace that feeling. So
That's awesome to hear, and that's one thing that I've noticed, obviously, about you. You're a dear friend of mine, but I've been able to follow you, whether that's when I was playing professionally myself or when I came back home and started, working on this Dr. Dish thing. I've always seen wherever you went, you've had a ton of success, and part of that success is because you do things for the right reasons, and you do enjoy the process of building something and taking skills or things that players have inside of them that they haven't been able to bring out quite yet. And wherever you go, you find success, and that's awesome to hear. I can only tell you from my own personal experiences of when I got my first Division I offers and I signed and I went and played, I was so happy. I was so proud. I know my parents were. And then when I went to college and I had some success there, and then when I went played professionally, I mean, the feelings are undescribable of
yeah,
what comes with it. And I know my coaches, my friends and family, some of the people that I've worked with on the basketball court, they experience those feelings as well. And now me being on the opposite side of training players, from all levels, I get to see that now too. When I see a guy that declares for the NBA draft that, maybe I've worked out with them a few times, or another kid that's called me and asked for advice that is looking to make a commitment to a college. When they make those decisions, it's an awesome feeling, and it's absolutely amazing. So I'm on the bandwagon with you, man. We do these things for, not our own personal benefit, but for these kids, and it's great to see them succeed.
man,
Now,
it's really
you've been at AZ Compass, you said, for about 4 years or more now. What's the ultimate goal for AZ Compass in the next few years? What are some of the things that you guys want to get done there?
Well, first, we're academic first institute. We have great leaders. From the ownership, from Miss Rhonda Owens, she's retired right now, but she, volunteered her time to come in and work with our national boys basketball to make sure their academics is right. She's always emailing people, coaches back and forth. She's always doing weekend study hall with these players to make sure they're getting prepared for the ACT. Zah Owens, who is a vice president of operation, he's always around the basketball program. He travels with us. He do a really, really good job. Swin Anderson, who's a president, who kind of, always keep the academics intact. KJ, like we have some great people at AZ Campus Prep where my vision and our vision for this, we want to make this more than just basketball, right? We want to let people know that when you come here, you're going to get a top-notch education, one, and two, you're going to get some of the best training basketball that you ever, been a part of. And for us, it's just to build a brand nationally to let people know that when our kids leave here, they're going to be ready to be successful in this world. Now, Jefferson, you and I know, man, you were one of the best basketball players when I was growing up, and even when I coached you, everybody, you came out of nowhere through hard work and being at the park, early morning, late night, doing whatever you did, you was one of the best. And you didn't make it to the NBA. I mean, you had a trial workout for NBA teams and all that stuff, but you didn't, how good you have to be. So what I'm trying to say, not everybody going to get the opportunity to make it to the league, but we want to set these kids up for success. So when they're done with basketball, they got something to fall back on. And I think that's one thing that we do at our school, and that's our vision, is to set these kids up for life after basketball. So what is your purpose? Because that ball can only go bounce for so long. So for us, hopefully next year we can win a championship. That's number one on my wish list. I'm gonna be honest. We got to win a world championship. And, obviously us, having non-D1 players, that's something probably, I don't know. I don't know of any other program that had non-D1 players. And so, just keep getting kids to where they want to go, college wise, and just keep building a brand where people can recognize us for just more, not just basketball, but way more than basketball. And that's our vision, man. Just, getting the community to get, involved in what we're doing and letting the world know that, this is a great platform to get kids, where they want to go athletically and educationally. So, yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I mean, like I said, you got your head on the right way, and I appreciate our friendship and our conversations. We never drop a dime, even though you're all the way out in Arizona and I'm here in Minnesota. I mean, it's like we never skip a beat. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to jump on here. For the listeners out there, if you guys are looking for more information or anything on AZ Compass Prep, their website, azcompassprep.com. You can go into, their national basketball link to check out the players and the coaches there. You can look at them on IG as well, AZ Compass Prep Hoops. You can also follow Pete Kaffey here, on his stories and whatnot. He puts up a ton of training videos with those guys. So if you're ever interested in kind of what they're doing over there, check him out at Pete_Kaffey09. And then for more skills and drills on our side, Dr. Dish, make sure to follow us on IG, Dr. Dish B-Ball, and more information also on our shooting machines that can help take your program to the next level at home or at the school. Make sure to visit us at drdishbasketball.com. Again, Pete, really appreciate you taking time, jumping on the dial with me, man, and stay safe out there in this crazy world. Hopefully this dies down soon so we can get back on the basketball court.
Hey, likewise, Jefferson. I appreciate you and Dr. Jace having me on. Just thanks for the friendship. Appreciate you guys hooking us up with that machine, and thanks for the couple of recruits that we got. So from you, pretty much you guys assist with that by with the machine. But thank you for everything, man. You stay safe. Say what's up to the family for me, and I'll talk to you a little later.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
Bye bye.